Hello everyone. Today we are going to study the second chapter of Hornbill, that is We Are Not Afraid to Die If We Can All Be Together. It is by Gordon Cook and Ellen East. As we know that literature comprises many genres like novel, drama, poem, prose and travelogue and so on. So what is travelogue? Travelogue is a description of one's journey. So here in this story, this chapter falls in this category, travelogue. In this, the Gordon Cook, who has experienced during his sea journey, and he has explained his traveling in this chapter. So let's start the chapter. Before we start anything, first we are going to discuss about the important characters in the story. The first is narrator, and this narrator is Gordon, his wife Mary, son Jonathan, 6-year-old, daughter Suzanne, 7-year-old. There are two other characters in the story, and they are crewman hired by Gordon Cook. The first is Larry Vigil, he is from America, and another one is Hob Sigler, he is from Swiss. So these are the 6 characters in the story. 4 from the family and 2 are hired by Gordon Cook. So let's start the story. So it was the time in July 1976 when the narrator, his wife, son and daughter set sail. They started their journey from Plymouth, England. So they started their journey from England, Plymouth, to duplicate the round the world voyage made 200 years earlier by the Captain James Cook. So here, before the narrator, Captain James Cook had gone to the voyage 200 years ago. Voyage is here, sea journey, and now this narrator wanted to repeat the journey after Captain James Cook. So for the longest time, Mary and I is here narrator. Remember, this is written in a first person narrative technique. So here the narrator is Gordon Cook and we have the word for him, that is I. So here for the long time, Mary and the narrator, his age is 37-year-old, and he was a businessman and had dreamed of sailing in the wake of famous explorer. So he wanted to explore the world like Captain James Cook. And for the past 16 years, we had spent all our leisure time. Leisure is a free time. Hunting is improving. Hunting their seafaring skills in British waters. Waters here in different that they could spend their time testing or improving their skills in the different area in the British, and they spent their 16 years to improve their seafaring is a seagoing skills that are needed in the sea voyage or sea journey. Our boat Wave Walker, the name of the boat or the ship is Wave Walker, 23 meter and 30 ton. The weight is 30 ton, a wooden hulled beauty. So it was made of wood and professionally built. We had spent months fitting it out and testing it in the roughest weather we could found. We is here Mary and narrator. So narrator and his wife, they checked it, tested many times in the roughest weather they could find in the environment. The first leg is here phase part. So first part of are planned 3 years. So they planned for the 3-year voyage, and the first part of that 1,05,000 kilometer journey passed pleasantly as we sailed down the west coast of the Africa to Cape Town. So they finally reached Cape Town and they covered 1,500 kilometers. And there, before heading east, before they wanted to go towards east, we took on 2 crewmen. So narrator hired 2 crewmen. Crewman is a skilled worker, like as we discussed, the American Larry Vigil and Swiss Hob Sigler, to help us tackle is their handle, to handle one of the world's roughest sea, the Southern Indian Ocean. So he could not take any chance, and we know the Indian Ocean, Southern Indian Ocean, is known as the one of the world's roughest and sea. They wanted to travel, and so that he decided to take the help of these two crewmen on our second day of Cape Town. So they left the Cape Town, and on their second day, we began to encounter. We is here all the member in the ship. So we began to encounter strong gales. Gales here, winds. For the next few weeks, they blew continuously. There is here winds. The gales did not worry me. So the problem was not wind. Problem was the size of waves was alarming. Up to 15 meters. Now you can imagine the height of waves was 15 meters, as high as our main mast. Mast is a main pole in the ship. December 25th found us 3,500 kilometer east of the Cape Town. So they measured that they calculated they have covered the 3,500 kilometer from the Cape Town. Despite atrocious is a bad, despite of the bad weather, we had a wonderful holiday complete with the Christmas tree. No doubt the weather was not good, wasn't in their favor, but anyhow, or they enjoyed their Christmas with the Christmas tree. New Year's Day, so no improvement. So there was no improvement at even on the New Year Day, and but we reasoned that it had to change soon. So they thought that the weather would be changed soon, and it did change. No doubt it changed, but not for the good, for the bad. So at dawn is here morning. So in morning on January 2nd, the waves were gigantic. So waves were huge. Gigantic is here huge. We were sailing with only a small storm jib. The jib is here triangular cloth that is used for sailing. So they were having small storm jib and waves, and were still making 8 knots. Knot is here unit of speed. As the ship rose to the top of the each wave, we could see the endless enormous seas rolling towards us. So nothing was there except endless huge large seas, and that was looking like rolling towards them. And screaming of the wind, screaming, sound, you can either cry, loud sound. Screaming of the wind and spray was painful to ears. So sound was not pleasant to their ears. To slow the boat down, we dropped the storm jib. So they wanted to slow down the ship, and they dropped their storm jib and last heavy mooring rope. And so mooring rope is here, that they tied heavy rope in the loops across the stern is the back part of ship. So now here loop is here where they can tie ropes. And then we double laced everything and went through our life raft is a wooden flat structure that is used for flat floating. Attached lifeline and Dawn is here put on. Wear oilskins, that waterproof clothes, and life jackets. We know when you are in the sea, you can be in the need of life jackets. So the weather was not good, and they all were ready, and they were waiting for any peril or danger. So the first indication of the impending is going to happen. Indication of the disaster came at about 6 p.m. So the disaster gave its indication at the 6 p.m. with an ominous silence. The silence that is not good. The wind dropped, wind stopped, and sky immediately grew dark. Sky became dark, and then a growing roar. So the sound was increasing, and enormous cloud towered after is here near the ship. So now cloud gathered near the ship, and with horror I realized that it was not a cloud but a wave like no other I had ever seen. So it was not cloud, it was a wave that narrator has never ever seen in his life. It appeared perfectly vertical is a straight, and almost twice the height of other waves. So there were other waves in the sea, but these are the waves twice that we had already studied that earlier waves were around 15 meters, but now this time approx twice the height of other waves with frightful breaking crest. Crest is air front part of the ship, and the waves were so frightening that it could break the crest of the ship. And roar increased to a thunder. Now you can see that the roar was increasing and it was like a thunder. As the stern moved up the face of the water, the back part of the ship that moved over the waves, and for a moment I thought we might ride over it. So narrator thought that they could survive it, but then a tremendous explosion shook the deck. Deck is here the flat surface area on the ship that is used for walking, standing, that is permanent covering of the ship area or surface of the ship. And torrent is a violent flow of water. So a torrent of green and white water broke over the ship. So the water hit the ship and my head smashed into the wheel. So the narrator was handling the wheel and his head was smashed, and I was aware of flying overboard. Why he was flying? Because the water came into the room or where he was sitting, and he was like flying and sinking below the waves, and he was sometimes under the water. I accepted my approaching death, and as I was losing consciousness, I felt quite peaceful. Unexpectedly my head popped out is here, come out. So his head came out of the water a few meters away. Wave walker was near capsizing here, turnover. So the wave walker a few meters away was about to turn over, capsize. Her mast, her is here for wave walker, her main poles almost horizontal. Now you can imagine that by striking of the waves, the wave walker became horizontal, and then a wave hurled is here throw. So a wave hurled her upright, so another wave struck the ship and it was straight again. My lifeline jerked taut. I grabbed the guard rails and sailed through the air into the wave walker's main boom. Subsequently the waves tossed me around like the deck around the deck like a rag doll. So the water was, there was a lot of water and he was floating like a rag doll. My is a narrator. So narrator's left ribs cracked, his mouth filled with blood because his teeth were broken, and somehow I found a wheel. But anyhow he managed to get his hand got his hand over the wheel, lined up the stern for the next wave, and hung on. Water everywhere. So inside water, outside water. I could feel that the ship had the water below water. Ship had the water below means that inside part of the ship was being filled with water. But I dared not abandon, leave. So he had no courage to leave the wheel to check it out what exactly happened. Suddenly, all of a sudden, what happened? The front hatch is there, the door on flat surface. Sometimes we find the underground rooms and it has the flat door on the surface. So from there, what happened? The throne opened and the Mary appeared. Mary, his wife. So Mary appeared from that hatch. We are sinking, she screamed. So Mary cried that we are sinking, the decks are smashed. So we know the flat surface of the ship, that it was smashed and we are full of water. So there was a lot of water in the ship. Take the wheel, I shouted, and I scrambled for the hatch. So scramble is here, crawled. So narrator crawled for the hatch, and Larry and her were pumping like madman. Pumping is mere means here they were putting the water out of the ship like madman. Broken timbers hung at the crazy angles. The whole starboard side bulged inwards. Starboard is the right side of the ship. Clothes, crockery, charts, tins, toys sloshed. Sloshed is here soaked, wet, sloshed about in deep water. So everything like timber, clothes, crockery, charts, and many more things were soaked in water. I half swam, half crawled into the children's cabin. So the narrator anyhow managed to reach children's cabin. Are you all right? I asked. Yes, they answered from the upper bunk. Bunk is here, dormitory bed. But my head hurts a bit. Who said? Sue. Sue is here. Suzanne. Suzanne said her head was hurt a bit, pointing to the big bump, swollen area above her eyes. And I had no time to worry about bumped head. After finding the hammer, screws, and canvas, clothes, I struggled back on the deck. So narrator anyhow to managed to reach on deck with the starboard side bashed open. It was open because of striking of waves. We are taking the water with each waves that broke over us. I couldn't make some repair. If I couldn't make some repairs, we would surely sink. So it was clear possibility that if he could not make some repairs, so definitely they would surely sink. They would surely die sooner or later. Somehow I managed to stretch the canvas and secure waterproof hatch covers across the gaping hole. So there were some holes and narrator managed to put the canvas over them. Some water continued to stream below and even stream is here flowing. So some water continued to come inside, but most of it was now being um, deflected is here reduced over the side, but most of the water was deflected. More problems arose when our hand pumps started to block up with the debris. And debris is here that rude remains. So because of them, their hand pumps blocked, choked, and even that electric pumps short circuited. And the situation, then pumps are not working and even the electric pumps got short circuited. The water level rose threateningly, and back on the deck I found that the our two spare hand pumps had been wrenched overboard along with the forestay sail, the jib, dinghies, and main other anchors. Then I remembered we had another electric pump under the chart room. So he got to know that there is another electric pump under the chart room. He went there and he found. I connected it to the an out pipe and was thankful to find it that it worked. So another pump, it was working, and thankful to God that it was working in that situation. The night dragged on with an endless. So night was like which has no end. Bitterly cold routine of pumping, putting the water out, steering the working, steering is here, steering the wheel, working the radio. So they were continuously working on radio too, so that they could get any kind of help from near area. So we were getting no replies to our mayday calls, that the calls are made in emergency, right? They all were in danger, and they were giving signals through the radio, but which was not surprising in the remote corner of the world. But they were not getting any reply because they knew that they are far from the corner of the world, and that's why they were not getting any answer from their calls. Sue's here. Suzanne. So Suzanne's head had swollen alarmingly. She had two enormous black eyes. Why the enormous? Why the huge? Because her eyes were swollen, and now she showed us a deep cut on her arm. When I asked why she didn't make more of her injuries before that, she replied, I didn't want to worry you when you were trying to save us. You is here father of Suzanne, that is narrator. So what she mentioned that she didn't want to worry her father because he was very busy to save them. So this is the first part of this chapter. I hope so it is clear till now. We will continue the rest and we will cover in the next video. And thanks a lot for watching. See you around.